The concept of the death penalty is nothing new. In fact, the death penalty has been around for hundreds of years now, and the first recorded execution was in 1608. Virginia Governor Sir Thomas was the first to enact a law which provided for the death penalty for even minor offenses such as stealing grapes or killing chickens or even trading with the Indians. Now, laws varied from colony to colony back then, such as they do today, how they can vary from state to state. But as years went on, the public began to speak out about the harshness that the death penalty came with. In the early 1800s, Thomas Jefferson was the first one to try and reform these laws that obviously were for menial acts, and he wanted a bill to be introduced that would allow for the death penalty only in cases of murder and in treason. Throughout the years to follow, many strong opinions have been formed, both for and against the death penalty. And although many will argue that if someone takes the life of someone, then they should be put to death, there are many reasons that question the validity of this thinking. Now, first, it is very costly to house inmates on death row, and there's a high possibility that innocent people could actually be sentenced to death, and it's just plain morally wrong to convict someone and send them to death row. There's a common misconception that it costs more to house an inmate for life than it does to carry out an execution. Murder trials can be a lengthy process. Consider the time it takes for the police to investigate the murder, for the police to gather evidence, and for them to actually finally go to trial. Their trials can last for weeks, if not months, and even in recent news we've seen how these trials can last for up to a year. Once a guilty verdict is read and the defendant is transported to prison, it's almost guaranteed that their lawyer is going to file an appeal on his behalf. This appeals process can take even more years now, and it's even before it's even brought to the judge to be reevaluated. All the while, the murderer lives in a state of federally funded prison, where us taxpayers have to pay for them to house there. For example, some 700 inmates in the state of California alone spend up to 25 years waiting in line, waiting through the trial and appeals process, just to have their case turned down and ultimately be put to death. Now, this can add up to an astonishing cost of hundreds of millions of dollars that the state must pay, and these costs are rarely recouped by the defendant through restitution, leaving us taxpayers to foot the bill for this. Through this entire process, the court system is relied on to bring justice for the victim, and the public trusts that the right thing and the right verdict, the right person, is going to be tried and convicted. However, there is growing concern that more and more inmates, more and more innocent inmates, are sitting there on death row. In 2007, more than 120 inmates had been exonerated in the state of Florida alone, proving that with the shortcomings and iniquities in our judicial system, the existence of the death penalty guarantees that innocent people will be executed. As other states deal with this problem, not just in Florida, one must wonder if the financial cost of issuing a death penalty sentence is really worth the cost of fulfilling a wrongful execution. Society puts extreme pressure on our judicial system to come up with a quick and swift justice for those that have been accused of murder. Circumstantial evidence, probable cause, and reasonable doubt should never be considered enough just because society wants this quick justice. Such justice that is carried out on an innocent person can never be reversed and made right. These people who are innocent and living on death row lose years and years that they can never get back. In addition to this cost and growing doubt in our justice system, let's add to the argument that the death penalty is just morally wrong. We've all heard and even used the statement, an eye for an eye. And we've all learned that we should just turn the other cheek and love your neighbor. That's another one we've learned, and we've all learned and listened to. As children, we're taught that this principle should be used over and over. Children are instructed to express kindness and to express love, and that if a wrong is committed, they need to just merely walk away and be careful to never add fuel to the fire. We see this with bullying, and we discourage bullying, and instead we promote love and acceptance. So somewhere along the way, we've lost these morals, and they've been thrown out the window. A human life is precious at every stage, not only in childhood and adolescence, but also in adulthood and older years. A person should protect another's life and guard the lives of those around them. Now, I understand that people are wronged, but retaliation is not the answer. This approach to justice will only cause a ripple effect that never ends, resulting in killing these morals, such as love and kindness, that are taught at a very young age. Many will argue that the death penalty actually helps to affirm the precious human life. However, this opinion is biased towards the victim. Yes, the life that was taken is priceless, but so is the life that is being sentenced to death. No one is perfect. Everyone deserves a second chance, no matter what the crime. Rehabilitation has been proven to work. When faced with a life sentence, the majority of offenders are quick to reevaluate their lives, thus beginning to make internal changes for the better. Many prisoners jump at the opportunity to educate themselves, to get a degree, to offer services, to help speak with troubled teens, anything to help steer these people away from the crime that they committed. Crime will always exist, and the death penalty will continue to be issued to convicted felons, but the public must begin to educate themselves on the dangers that invoking such a sentence brings to our society. The American people need to consider the mind-blowing cost that taxpayers like us actually pay to fund the entire process, the staggering amount of innocent people who are sentenced to death, and the moral dilemma that comes with fighting death with death. Though many more arguments can be made, these are just a few reasons why the death penalty needs to be abolished.